From your home of Super Bowl 52 and your home of the 2018 Winter Olympic Games, this is KRBC, Abilene's local news at 5.
Good evening, I'm Samantha Jones.
And I'm Randy Turner. Thank you for joining us today. We are continuing our coverage of breaking news that we first alerted you to this afternoon. At this hour, police still searching for a suspect they're considering to be armed and dangerous. He was last seen in North Abilene after pointing a gun at an officer.
We know the man has been identified as Willie Gray. The confirmation on his identification was made as a citizen reported seeing Gray walking around the 1400 block of Lilia Street armed with an assault rifle. The street was blocked off as police looked for him.
We're also learning the area has since been cleared, but we are now joined live by our Dusty Baker, who has been out on the scene for most of this afternoon. Dusty, what else can you tell us about what police have learned?
Samantha and Randy, thank you. I'm here at Lilia Street in North 14th, and while the neighborhood is relatively quiet right now, the scene was much different earlier today as police were coming in from all angles. They had the perimeter completely locked off as they were in search of a man who was standing just outside of one of these very homes with another suspect. Now, according to Chief Stan Standridge, the man who is now identified as Willie Gray was contacted by police, and he was allegedly pointing a rifle at an officer, prompting the officers to seek cover. Gray then fled the scene. This is what Chief Standridge had to say about the incident today.
Our community does need to be mindful of Willie Gray. He is armed, he is dangerous, obviously. Had an intent of trying to murder a police officer today.
Now, police are still investigating and gathering information, but of course we will keep you updated as more information becomes available to us. Live in North Abilene, Dusty Baker, KRBC, Abilene's local news. Back to you in the studio.
Dusty, thank you. We're also learning from Chief Standridge police are investigating whether or not this incident is in connection to a robbery that happened overnight in the Woodhaven neighborhood. An unknown suspect entered an unlocked window sometime after 8 p.m., taking several items, including 7 guns, $500 in cash, and a safe. Total value of stolen items nearly $5,400.
Guns still a topic of conversation in Washington today as the House Judiciary Committee approved a bill expanding the rights of gun owners to carry weapons in states where they don't live. Our Capitol correspondent Drew Petrimo joins us, telling us the bill has been one of the National Rifle Association's top legislative priorities.
This is crazy.
Democrats like Congressman Steve Cohen say the concealed carry reciprocity bill would force his home state of Tennessee to accept weaker gun laws of other states.
And now people from Mississippi and Alabama could come up and carry a gun in Tennessee and show their buddies and say, hey, I've got my gun, but you can't carry yours.
The bill forces states to honor concealed carry permits from other states, but the permitting process varies across the country.
Some states like Tennessee require most permit holders to be at least 21 years old. Others like Mississippi and Alabama, the age is 18.
People under 21 are less likely to be mature to carry a gun. That's why 34 states have those laws.
But Republicans argue the patchwork of laws from state to state are difficult for legal gun owners to navigate. Virginia Congressman Bob Goodlatte.
Law-abiding Americans should be able to exercise their right to self-defense even when they cross out of their state's borders.
Some police groups oppose the bill, saying it'll make their jobs more dangerous. But Florida Representative John Rutherford, who spent decades in law enforcement, disagrees.
We want good people carrying guns.
The bill is being pushed by the powerful National Rifle Association and has the support of many Republicans in Congress. But gun safety groups are against the proposal, and it could run into a roadblock in the Senate where it needs Democratic votes to pass. In Washington, I'm Drew Petrimo.
Turning now to weather. Randy, looking at our sky cam right now, it looks to be nice and sunny, but with that cold front that moved in overnight, what are we actually looking at temperature-wise?
Yeah, very nice day. We have some high-level cirrus clouds, which you saw on the camera, but overall, temperatures across the big country right now, they're mainly in the low to mid 60s. These are the readings as of 5:02, and you can call these very uniform temperatures from north to south, east to west. We're all pretty much in the same category, unlike yesterday. As we look at satellite and radar, considerable cloudiness is indicated, especially over the eastern and southern big country, but I do expect these clouds to just move on through and skies to become clear later tonight. So that brings us to the forecast for Thursday. We have another cold front that will begin your day at 39 degrees, climbing to about 60 during the noon hour. High temperature 65 by mid-afternoon, and the wind will be back around to the north thanks to that front that allows the temperature to remain much like it was today.
Randy, thank you. A few weather factors posing a fire danger to much of the big country. A few weeks without rain coupled with gusty winds and dry conditions could also cause problems. However, there are precautions citizens can take to help reduce the threat of these fire dangers, like removing overgrown weeds in yards.
Once that grass goes dormant and people don't maintain their properties, we could have an excess of anywhere from 12 to 36 inches of dormant growth on the top, and so it turns yellow and it becomes extremely flammable.
Removing firewood from the side of your house can also help prevent a fire. Several counties are currently under a burn ban. For a full list of those, you can head to our website. That, of course, is bigcountryhomepage.com.
Turning now to a fire of a different kind. Shocking headlines overnight as one of the most recognizable personalities on television has been fired after an inappropriate sexual behavior complaint. It's a story that's been trending since it first broke, as NBC's Matt Lauer was fired from the network following a colleague complaint about him. NBC says this is the first complaint against Lauer, but went on to add they were presented with, quote, reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident. Lauer was part of NBC News for over 20 years. And another surprising firing today, Garrison Keillor of Minnesota Public Radio has also been fired over allegations of inappropriate behavior. MPR confirming the termination in a statement today, saying the individual was someone who worked with Keillor.
And tonight, Capitol Hill also focusing on sexual harassment as one congressman is facing calls to resign over misconduct allegations.
And now congressional leaders say they want to make lasting changes to protect people from harassment. KRBC's White House correspondent Mark Meredith is taking a closer look.
We're taking the issue of sexual harassment very seriously.
House Speaker Paul Ryan says Congress won't tolerate sexual misconduct by its members any longer.
The fact that some people end up walking these halls are subjected to a threatening or hostile work environment when they came here to serve their country, to serve their ideals, that's wrong.
To fight back, the House is adopting new rules. Members and staff will be required to attend anti-sexual harassment training. Congresswoman Jackie Speer led the effort and says as a victim of harassment herself, the new rules are long overdue.
Today's bill is an important step in the right direction, but let's not fool ourselves. It is a baby step.
The new rules come as one member of Congress is facing new accusations of sexual misconduct. Democratic Congressman John Conyers of Michigan is accused of sexual harassment by multiple former aides. Conyers says he has no plans to step down from his elected office, but the House Ethics Committee is investigating. Democratic leader Joe Crowley of New York says it's important not to rush to judgment.
The reality is we have a process in place, and we're calling for an expedited process of the Ethics Committee.
But some in Congress think it's up to Conyers to make the next move. Republican Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida says resignation may be Conyers' best option.
I think he has to give that very serious consideration, honestly. I mean, this is a distraction to everybody up here.
At least 3 Democrats have urged Conyers to step down from office. However, some Democratic leaders, including members of the Congressional Black Caucus, refuse to call for Conyers to step down. In Washington, I'm Mark Meredith.
Mark, thank you. Happening here in the Key City, Hendrick Medical Center will soon be opening its new neonatal care unit after an update that will allow them to care for infants in ways they haven't been able to before. At 12,000 square feet, the update brought in 25 beds and 4 private rooms for sick and premature babies, which will enable the hospital to take care of infants who are less than 32 weeks old. This improved space is something staff say they're excited about.
Really feel like we have an area that's really functional and is really going to be good for our family-centered care, so that we can provide not only excellent care to that patient, but then also to the family.
Next week, the hospital will begin transferring all of the babies into the new NICU. In statewide health news, a new study released by the University of Texas System of Health Science Affairs showing Texans are falling behind the rest of the country in getting vaccinated against HPV. Currently, Texas has the 5th lowest vaccination rate in the country, with just 39.7%, and women at 26.5%. 85% of men being up to date with the vaccine in 2016. And according to the CDC, Texas saw more than 2,800 cases of HPV-associated cancer between 2009 and 2013.
And keeping with Texas health news, legal cannabis is growing in Texas. A cultivation center outside of Abilene is in the process of growing the plant that, once fully grown, will be harvested and turned into medicine. State legislature passed the Texas Compassionate Use Act back in 2015, allowing Texans with epilepsy to qualify for cannabis-based treatment. State Representative led the charge to pass the legislation, saying about 100,000 Texans could benefit.
Everybody is not going to respond to this medication, but those that do, it has been life-changing.
The plants will be harvested in January, won't have more than 0.5% of THC in them.
It's out with the old and in with the new for Coleman County, with the new year ushering in a couple of new things to the area. Last week we told you about the new Coleman County Jail being built, but this week the community is looking forward to a new hotel. The Kennedy Hotel is set for construction in 2018. It's named after the owner, Alan Kennedy. The hotel's main purpose is to bring revenue to the downtown businesses, and this week the city is discussing utilities for the upcoming structure.
Hotel is the obvious choice of what Coleman is needing. We have the dining experience, but we need overnight accommodations.
It's been nearly 50 years since Coleman has had a downtown hotel. Tonight at 10, our Feb and Cassahoon breaking down the details of this new hotel and when you can expect to pay a visit. Coming up on First at 5, a local family being featured on a network game show. Everyone loves a good feud. After the break, we're meeting the Chambers and hearing about their time on Family Feud.
And a warming trend going into the weekend. A shift in the weather pattern next week will allow colder air to visit. Your forecast coming up next on Abilene's Local News.
This is KRBC, Abilene's Local News at 5 with Samantha Jones and Chief Meteorologist Randy Turner.